Hi from Miami, everyone. I'm Evelyn, and I'll tell you my story about how my family worships me and why. I am the most popular girl at school. I've always been like that. My parents were known for doing everything for their only daughter. They literally worshipped me. I had money and a lot of fans. To win my attention, girls and boys literally performed concerts. Someone would give something, others would open the door, and someone would do my homework. Everyone wanted to visit my chic house, but I rarely invited anyone over. I had my own reasons for this, which you'll find out very soon. My father used to pick me up from school. He always waited outside with flowers, opened the door every day. Everyone was jealous of this and asked, why do my parents worship me like that? I always answered, it's just that they love me, and I use it. Was I a bitch? Perhaps, but there was no other family like mine. So that day I went home with Dad. As soon as I entered the hall, Mom and Dad held out their hands and I paid each for the hours worked. I said, tomorrow at the same time. Miss, I'm sorry, but tomorrow my daughter has a concert for fathers. I have to be there. Can I take the day off? Day off? Your job is to pretend to be my parents. That's it. Am I asking too much? I pay you money for this. Tomorrow at the same time. We understand you, miss. Tomorrow we'll arrive early in the morning. What? Don't you get it? These are not my real parents. They're fake. I pay them to pretend. Where are my real parents? You'll find out soon enough. We went outside, where suddenly my new boyfriend Luke was standing. My parents kissed me on the forehead and said they were going out. Well, Luke invited them and me to his party tomorrow night. My parents throw parties for my friends and their parents to get to know each other. We rich need to know each other by sight, right? So I accepted the invitation, thanking him, but still didn't know how it would turn out. My fake parents arrived at the party as we agreed. But suddenly, among the guests at the party, I met my old friend, the one who knew my real parents and their fate. I was so surprised at our meeting. I tried to hide from her, and yet we collided. Ava asked who it was with me, and I whispered everything to her and asked her not to tell anyone about it. Ava, my house is all that's left of my luxury. But your parents work hard to support you. This house and your requests. Don't you think that's not fair? Don't lecture me. At least I don't disown my relatives just because they went bankrupt. Her words hit a nerve, but on the other hand, I couldn't let anyone know that the once richest girl in the city was impoverished. I decided to salvage the situation, and while my real parents were working for money, they were replaced by beautiful actors who looked like them, and no one guessed anything. Just don't tell anyone, especially Luke. What don't you want to tell me? He approached so imperceptibly that I was frightened. It's good that food delivery arrived at that moment, and oh no, it couldn't be. The couriers entered the house. My parents. I had no idea how to react, but Ava greeted them and then looked at me. You're 4 minutes late, and the food is already cold. Luke yelled at them. I tried to calm him down, but then his mom and dad came out and began to humiliate my parents. If you can't even cope with such elementary work, then how do you live? I was seething with anger, but the worst thing is that my father and mother bowed their heads and asked for forgiveness. Are you still going to stay silent? Ava asked me. And then Luke took the pizza from the box and threw it at my father. The crowd laughed. Mom started crying. Then Luke came up to me and said, the rich are drawn to the rich, and the beggar's place is in the dump. They're the ones ruining our society. Then I grabbed another piece of pizza and slammed it into Luke's face. Everyone freaked out. I stood next to the couriers and shouted, okay, everybody, this is my real father and my real mother. They're couriers. They earn their money by honest labor while you own illegal businesses. And you know what? Luke actually sells drugs at school. Yes, I'd rather work as a courier than launder money through shell funds and engage in drug dealing. By the way, Luke, your Rolexes are fake. My father had the real ones, and you don't know how to tell the difference. All the best, and go to hell. I said it in one breath, showed the middle finger, and got out of there. Ava followed me with her parents, and we had a great evening back at the pizzeria. Now I realize there are things more important than money and show-offs. It's the love of family. Hello, everyone. I'm Ida. About a year ago, I was very lucky. My grandmother bequeathed me a decent million amount of money, a company, and real estate. It may seem strange because in my family, I am an adopted child. Yes, you heard right. I have a brother, Jay, mom, and dad. These people adopted me 3 years ago. They treated me well, but then, more than anyone in the world, my step-grandmother loved me the most. She always called me special, just because we had a mental connection. Do you know what that is? We often thought the same way, did things together, we had the same taste in food, and most importantly, I could always feel if something happened to her and ran to help. Since I was older than Jay, my grandmother paid for my studies at Oxford, and I became the best student in the law course. Unfortunately, my grandmother died, but she managed to bequeath everything she had to me. My family was happy and proud of me. I temporarily froze my accounts, cashed out the necessary part, and gave it to my family while I went to London to study. I was gone for 2 years because of the heavy workload, and finally, I came home. They couldn't meet me, but that's okay. By taking a taxi, I went to the usual address, but on the way, Dad texted me that they had changed location. I wondered when they had time to move. And besides, why didn't they tell me about it? The driver took me to a strange, poor area, and I found an apartment in the basement. I was already scared. I thought maybe the driver had mixed something up. But the door opened, my father abruptly took my hand, dragged the suitcases, and me inside. Dad, Mom, what's going on here? Shh, honey, be quiet. We can't be tracked down. Tracked down? What are you talking about? By whom? I'll explain everything to you. Just tell me first, are your bills, are they all right? Well, yes, they're safe. Like grandmother's company, everything's fine. But what happened? Dad had just opened his mouth when someone knocked on the door. Frightened, Jay began to cry, and my fear slowly rose up. Nobody could explain anything. My parents grabbed our hands and we ran out the window, got into an old car unfamiliar to me, and rushed away. On the way, Dad said that everything happened quickly. They were accused of fraud and said they would arrest everyone except me. That's because I'm not a blood child. My parents were accused of major economic crimes, which they didn't do. We were told that nothing was recorded on us, no property and no business, but we lived in a big way and our stories about the inheritance were considered fake because everyone bequeathed to you and we're not on the list. And since we're a family, only on paper. My mother could not continue and I went nuts from the absurdity. Well, what do I do now? I don't know yet, but we'll think of something. But I won't let my family go to jail. If necessary, I'll go alone. No, Dad. Jay burst into tears again, and I calmed him down. No one is going anywhere. I'll think of something. We stopped after only 60 kilometers to take food with us. During this hour, I thought about all the options, but none of them would work. Our phone was also dead, and there was nowhere to recharge in the old car. I went to the toilet at the gas station while my family bought food and water. Before I had time to properly zip up my fly-on-my jeans, I heard my mother scream, "Ida, run!" In a hurry, I ran out of the restroom. We had to leave the car and go to another one. We were being chased by strange people in glasses and black suits. My heart almost burst. "What the hell is this?" I yelled, and then I realized, "Where is Jay?" I asked my parents, and my mother was crying. "They kidnapped him. What the fuck? Go back! We must get him back! They can't do that! They violated all our rights!" "Wake up already, Ida! What the hell are your rights? We were kicked out, we're on the run, we were accused of what we did not do, and now the law is taking us into their own hands." I'll ransom Jay." "How?" "I will rewrite everything that I have. I'll give it to them." "But it's all yours, honey. It doesn't matter. They have my brother. Let them take it. It should be enough to let him go and stop the persecution." My parents asked me several times if I was sure, but I was more certain than ever. It should have worked. Dad dialed someone's number and we drove back towards that gas station. We had an appointment in the middle of the highway, away from the road itself. When we drove into the wasteland, I began to worry. They kept Jay in handcuffs like a criminal. I got out of the car and my father went to negotiate. A minute later, he brought me papers and, with trembling hands, I signed everything. "I did it. Now let him go. Stop chasing us." Jay was released, but then something unbelievable happened. My little brother calmly approached me, smiled, and began to clap. Mom and Dad followed. "What? What's going on?" "Thank you, Ida. I finally get it why my mother loved you, for simplicity and kindness. But to be honest, I never shared those feelings. What do you mean? Mom? I'm not your mother. That old frog left everything to you. And who are you anyway? Our son was left nothing because of you. We only took you on because Grandma wanted to have you. She saw potential in you. Huh. I couldn't believe it. All this turned out to be just a fake. My parents were indeed scammers, but their only target was me. What do you think, guys? I returned to London on the rest of my savings, but how do I live on? So far, I have no idea. Maybe you have some ideas?